Get home from school, turn on my TV. Who are these friends staring right back at me? Now that we're older, why don't you come over and go back in time with me? 90s babies nostalgia.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is 90s Babies Nostalgia, where two fully grown millennial women rewatch and sometimes watch for the first time tweet entertainment from the early 2000s.
Just to be clear, we are not sponsored by or affiliated with any of the shows or TV that we talk about or the channels that we talk about. We just really, really, really love talking about TV. And today we are talking about Phil of the Future.
Season 1, specifically episodes 6 through 21, but like not all of them. You'll get it.
Yep.
So we did an intro already to Phil of the Future in our previous episode, and the first 4 episodes, they all came out on the same day because Disney decided that was the way to go about it. All like out of production order
Yep.
completely. So if you haven't listened to that, go listen to that. But we will be starting off with episode 6. Also, I should have maybe addressed it like we're in person.
Yeah. And we're not in person in any of the places that either of us live.
No. And it wasn't planned at all.
No.
Jessica had work in DC. I live in New York. It's not that far. And like 2 weeks ago, she was like, "Hey, I know this is last minute."
Yeah. But do you think if I extended my trip, could you come down to DC? And here we are.
And honestly, it's been great.
It's been great. I think we're both exhausted.
We're both so tired. We both spent the last long while not in our own beds. And it's showing.
Yeah.
So we're having slumber party vibes today.
Mm-hmm.
But we couldn't be together and not record. It's just...
I think the lighting, if you're watching this on YouTube, is going to get a little weird towards the end because the sun's going to set soon. But just like right now, while the lighting's beautiful, just enjoy it.
And we don't have overhead lighting in our hotel room for some reason, but also enjoy. If you're watching this, my cat is a little nugget in the back, just in the middle, because I am a cat lady and I did bring her with me. It's fine. So, but kicking off, because we are tired and we would like some soft baked cookies after this, episode 6, Raging Bull. So, I don't remember this episode super well. I don't have notes, but I know Phil is getting teased for how much time he's spending with Keely.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're together or like it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts to feel self-conscious of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then is there like a dance going on? There's something going on that he and Keely were going to go to together.
Yeah, Keely and Phil were going to go to the dance together, but then Phil gets detention, and all of the guys in detention are making fun of how much time he spends.
How does he get detention?
For floor surfing?
Oh, that checks out.
He runs into a teacher. He doesn't get detention for floor surfing. He gets detention for pummeling a teacher while floor surfing.
I do recall also this female teacher being like complimenting his range on the floor surf.
Yes.
And then so he starts to hang out with the boys more and less with Keely. And he's like, we don't have to do everything together. And it goes to the dance with the boys.
Yes. And at the dance,
the boys decide to pull a prank.
Yes. And the prank involves one of the guys has a bull because...
A cow. They say it's a cow.
But then it's a bull.
Yes.
And they release it in the hallway. I don't really know what they thought they were doing.
I don't know.
But they release the bull in the hallway. It's about to trample Phil and the other guy, Myron, I think is his name. It's about to trample them. So Phil pulls out his Instamorph and turns the bull into a cat.
Yes, right in front of Myron.
Mm-hmm.
And then how does he get away with it? Keely shows up and she pulls a solid,
Yeah.
as she often does.
So what I wrote down here, which I don't remember this part, I wrote Myron threatens to tell the news or the cops, which I do remember. So then I write, so Phil drugs him? Which I briefly do remember them like he's like standing at the lockers and they're like pushing him up against the lockers, but like he can't hold his body up, so he keeps like slumping over because he's been drugged.
They maybe like wizard him to sleep and convince him he was dreaming or something.
Well, then when he wakes up, Keely pretends that she saw a flying saucer and that there were aliens
Oh my god.
and that the aliens must have done it. And then Myron believes that.
Of course he does.
And then so they all like basically Keely gets Myron to believe that they were abducted by aliens and that's why he saw the bull turn into a cat, which is confusing in itself. And then they just turn the bull back into, or the cat back into a bull. And that's the end of the story.
And then Phil apologizes to Keely, I think.
Yes.
He
they have
usually
a
does.
little heart to heart.
Yeah. My only thought on this episode is why can't boys and girls be friends?
Yeah. It is very confusing.
I also don't know what the B plot is. The line from the summary is Pim tries to keep her parents out of her parent-teacher conference.
Yeah.
That rings no bells of recollection for me.
So Pim's late to class every single day, and so her teacher's like, I'm coming over to your house tonight for a parent-teacher conference, which is confusing. I don't think teachers can just invite themselves to their students' personal homes. So Pim is like, Mom, Dad, it's your anniversary. I created Hawaii for you in the backyard to distract them. Meanwhile, she's Curtis pretending to be her dad.
Mhm.
And then they end up catching her. And then Pim ends up sleeping in a tent in the classroom to ensure she's not late for school.
I do remember the ending, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a few notes. They're peeling vegetables in detention, which was confusing to me.
Why?
What detention have you ever had? Sorry, I have a hair in my eye. What detention have you ever had where you're peeling vegetables?
I don't think I've ever had detention.
Oh.
But also, if they actually cook at that school, I could see that being like a decent detention thing of like doing child labor.
It's just very weird to me.
I like this episode because of the whole like boys and girls can't be friends things, but also because it's one of the few times where Phil accidentally almost like slips up about the secret, where they almost get exposed. Like he never uses a wizard in front of other people.
No. It is, I think, one of the only episodes so far where he slips up.
Yeah.
Because he's very, very good about it. But he didn't know what else to do in that moment. It felt very real.
There was a bull charging them.
Yeah.
A raging bull, as it's called.
Uh-huh. I did like this episode. It's your typical Phil in the Future episode. It's a little kooky, a little weird.
It's a classic.
It's good.
Inoffensive.
It's inoffensive.
Do you have more or should we move on?
We should move on.
Okay.
Episode 7.
My Way.
Yes.
There's a talent show. Keely wants to sing in the talent show, but what she's never told anyone, and she has a secret, is that she has really bad stage fright. Like really bad.
Yeah, like she throws up.
Because when she was young, she threw up, I think.
Uh-huh.
And she hasn't been on stage since then. And she was like 6.
Yeah, 3rd grade.
Okay, so 9. Phil hears her singing and finds out about all of this, and then he decides to help her. So she starts like performing in his living room or something at this like they like set up tables or something. But then there were too many people. So they had some people go away and it was just the Diffies. And then there were too many people, then the Diffies went away. And they found out she could only sing in front of Phil.
Mm-hmm.
So he makes himself tiny.
Yep.
and gets on top of the mic in the talent show
Uh-huh.
so that she can just focus on him and sing.
Correct. I'm talking about, like, when we say tiny, imagine a pint-sized little Phil hanging on to a microphone, and she starts getting into the song, and she is swaying with the microphone, moving it back and forth, feeling herself. Phil goes flying because he's tiny.
But I will say how tiny he is. He still talks into the mic. He's like, "Whoa, go Keely!" And I'm like, people would like that would feed into the mic.
That is like my main comment about this episode is everyone, even him just holding and gripping onto the microphone
They would hear.
would make noises. So it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. Also, part of this whole talent show thing is that there's this girl, Tara, who's like clearly comes from money and always performs and wins or something and makes fun of Keely a lot, and she performs and she still ends up winning. But Keely's like, I'm a winner too because I conquered my fear.
Yeah. She gets third place, but she's like so stoked on it. In her eyes, that was what she needed to get past her stage fright.
Protecting Me, the song that Keely sings, is an Allie and AJ song from like their first album.
Oh.
The first Hollywood Records album. I don't know if they have any albums before.
Yeah.
And I very much was listening to this like, this sounds familiar. Is this an Allie and AJ song? Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Also, my only other note about this plot, and not the B plot, is Keely at one point says that like she really wants to be a singer, but her backup plan is being a psychologist. And I just thought that was really funny.
And one would say accurate.
Sure. Also, just like I feel like Disney thinks there's only a few jobs.
Oh, absolutely.
And psychologist is one of the few jobs that they believe that people have.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
No, I know. I think it made the rest of us think that was one of the only options because I knew a lot of psych majors who did not intend on being psych majors. B plot is a trope time flower baby moment.
Yeah.
Pim and Bradley Benjamin Farmer have to take care of a flower baby for school, and I don't remember any of the plot. I just remember a lot of like sexist comments. I don't even know how it ends.
They fight over the flower baby and it breaks all over the floor and the teacher sees it.
Oh, fun. So they passed.
Yeah, with an A. There's a ton of sexist comments and just like not okay comments.
I know he leaves the flower baby with Pim and she's like, aren't you gonna help? And he's like, this is a woman's work.
Yep. He also like Pim names the flower baby Chuck. And he says that that's a working class name.
No, but I actually kind of love Bradley for his fucked up comments like that.
No, I think Pim is evil. Like, let's not steer from the fact that Pim is definitely evil.
Pim is futuristic evil, but she hates everyone. She's an equal opportunist evil.
Yes. Bradley's the worst character.
Bradley's a real life he's a manifestation of the real life evils we encounter.
Yes.
Classism,
He's
sexism.
horrible. And like throughout the episode, it's not like it changes. It's not like Pim's like, I need your help. She is like, Bradley, I really need your help. But throughout the entire episode, he continues to make sexist comments.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, someone in the comments, did you have a flower baby?
No, I don't know anyone who's done that. So please let us know.
Yeah.
No one in my school did it.
To me, it's just a TV thing. No one has flower babies. It only exists on TV.
I've also never had to do the egg thing. Some people have to take care of an egg instead of a flower baby. Never had to do that.
I didn't have to take care of anything and pretend it
We also didn't have home ec.
I had a life skills and health class.
When?
in 8th grade.
Oh, I did not have any
Yeah.
sort of health or
It
life
might have been
skills.
7th grade, but it was in middle school.
7th was bio with some health thrown in for me.
No, I had like a full on, it was literally called life skills.
This is tangential.
Yeah.
Let us know if you had to
No
have a
fun with
flower baby.
babies. Episode 9, Pheromonally Phil.
Pheromonally yours.
Pheromonally yours. That is what my notes say. Guys, I'm not going off my laptop. I'm going off my phone. It's a small screen. I'm not wearing the glasses.
It's fine. It is what it is. Enjoy the show, guys.
So there's a new kid named Marla.
She's real Southern.
Really horribly Southern.
Like, you just know this actress is not Southern.
Yeah, it's like so obvious because of how awful her Southern accent is. She has a crush on Phil, and Phil's like completely typical boy, oblivious to it. Keely and Tia are like, oh my god, she's crushing on you hard. And Phil is just like unaware.
And she's crushing on him because I think she drops her books and he picks them up for her, and she thinks it's really like Southern gentlemanly.
Yes, correct.
Chivalrous.
And there's just these things where they study together, they're hanging out. He's like spending time with Marla
As a friend.
And Keely and Tia are like, oh my god, Phil, like she has a crush on you, and they keep bringing it up to him.
And then they tell him that like things mean things.
Yes, that like him doing certain things are him showing that he's interested.
And he's not. And he doesn't want to seem like he is.
Yes. And then at lunchtime, in front of everyone, a man comes in and plays like a trumpet tune on a radio and reads a scroll that's like Marla declaring her love for Phil in front of everyone.
Isn't it a poem that she wrote? Because like they both like poetry.
Maybe.
Oh my god, I just remembered how this ends. This is so fucked up.
Oh my god, yeah. So then, this is our start of bad Disney parents, guys. Bad Disney parents. So Phil goes to Lloyd for advice. And instead of actually giving his son advice, like, just let her know you're not interested. What does Lloyd say? Lloyd says, you should use the DNA scrambler and make your face look fucked up so she doesn't like you. So they're studying, hanging out as friends, though Phil now knows that she sees him as more. And he's using the DNA scrambler, and his head is like huge and then tiny, and then he makes his nose huge. Like he just keeps changing his face, and she's like, what is happening?
Yeah, but she's like undeterred, I think.
Yeah, basically, she's like, she's confused, but she's like, you know what? I like you for what's on the inside.
Yes, she does. She literally says, I like you for what's on the inside. Or it's what's on the inside that matters.
Yes. And then he goes to Keely for advice. And Keely's like, just be yourself. And so Phil writes her a poem because he knows that she likes poems. And he's passing it to her in class. And the teacher snatches it.
And is like, if you have a note, share it with the class. We'd all love to know.
Yep. And so he forces Phil to read it out loud. Like, he doesn't even read it. The teacher doesn't read it. He makes Phil read it. And Marla gets pissed.
Because it's a poem rejecting her.
Yes.
Let's make that very clear, because the poem is very clear.
Yes. And it is read in front of the entire class. And so she picks up the teacher's smoothie and dumps it down his shirt.
Yes.
A part of me feels like Phil got what was coming for him.
I mean, he wasn't expecting to have to read it in front of the class. So I did feel bad. I think I have a lot of notes on the B plot and also quite a few on the A plot. So let's go over our notes on the A plot before we get to the B plot.
Okay.
One of my early notes. Why does Phil still have a hold on me? I think Phil was looking really good in this episode or something.
Yeah.
Because
Here's the thing is we'll learn as we get into later Disney shows. Amanda really loves like a cute boyish look. And I feel
I
like
do.
you do. And I feel that Phil sometimes has a very cute boyish look.
And other times he's just very nerdy.
Yeah.
But sometimes
Yeah.
he just
Uh-huh.
nails it.
I would agree. It's not my type, but
Yeah.
I get it.
Okay, I wrote down the quote of what Tia and Keely tell Phil. So, holding books means you're interested. Holding a door means interested but currently seeing someone. Front cuts means you think she's cute. Back cuts, let's be friends. Let's slow that down. Holding books means you're interested. Okay. I kind of get that. Holding a door means interested but currently seeing someone.
Which is weird because I just feel that like
You just hold doors for people.
yeah, like that's just a polite thing. It doesn't mean anything. If you are walking into an establishment and there is someone right behind you, you should hold the door for them.
And what do you like? I could almost get the interested thing, but where do you get the but you're seeing someone?
Yeah, I don't know. Also, they're like 14. So where are they getting this?
Front cuts means you think she's cute, but you can't see her if you cut in front of her. Or no, you give her cuts. That's right. Front cuts means you think she's cute. Okay, so you can look at her.
Oh, like you let her cut in
Let her
front.
cut in front of you in line.
Okay. Let her cut in back of you in line means that she's your friend.
Back cuts, let's be friends.
Okay.
That one I kind of
I do understand that.
A front cut was so precious. I did not give those away easily.
Yeah, like in the lunch line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only give them to my best friends.
I don't think I let people cut in front of me.
I often just gave back cuts to my friends.
Yeah. It's like, what? You're gonna eat before me? I'm hungry.
Yeah, if I'm helping you get a spot in line, you're gonna take the spot behind me.
Yep.
But yeah, no, this idea that like this was very real when we were like 14 of like things meant so much more. But there was no strict code like this. It's just
No.
we were like, oh my gosh, he held the door open. What does that mean?
Yeah. But I also wonder if that's just like that child-ish crush mentality where you're like every little thing you're like hoping for it to mean something, and then as you become an adult, you're like, no, all relationships suck and people are evil.
Says the married one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of it has to do with that childlike crush and like trying to understand what love and crushes and feelings are because you aren't an adult yet and you don't realize how people interact.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was ridiculous and hilarious
It was hilarious because they were so serious
and in sync.
and in sync. Yeah, but how like I do think what they got accurate here was how oblivious Phil was to everything. And it had nothing to do with him being from the future,
And everything to do with him just
being a 14-year-old boy.
yes.
Yeah.
I fully thought he was going to end up liking her by the end of the episode. I thought it was going to be one of those episodes. I mean, I know that it's Phil and Keely ultimately, and
Yeah.
it should be. But I thought that like maybe after he's rejected her, he'd be like, wait, but she's really great. Because I mean, she was so nice. And she was like, it's what's on the inside that matters. Like, the only reason he wasn't into her was like her accent.
She also said weird things. One of them being, I'd follow you barefoot through a briar's patch. Another of them being, your insides are cuter than a bug's butt.
Oh my God, I want to use that one.
Which I do have to say that one is cute. If someone told me my insides are cuter than a bug's butt, it would make me smile. But, you know, freshman in high school, sophomore in high, I think there's freshmen. Because isn't there that whole thing about the sophomore bathroom?
No, it's a junior bathroom and they're only
there's
sophomores. Oh, I think when they're talking about letting her down gently, they say don't kick her to the curb. You have to guide her to the curb.
Yeah.
I don't know who said that, but I did write down the quote.
Yeah. It feels like a Tia quote.
Or Keely.
Yeah. I feel like Keely is normally a little kinder.
Mm-hmm. But less so with Tia.
Yeah. B-plot What do you have to say?
B-plot. Okay, so Pim's parents tell her that she watches too much TV and she has to get a hobby. And first of all, TV shows about watching less TV were always so ironic. So she joins the orchestra. Yeah. She doesn't play an instrument, but she joins the orchestra. And this is where we are officially continuity issue error introduced to Bradley Benjamin Farmer, sexist pig of the flower baby in the previous episode. Bradley Benjamin Farmer is the conductor of the orchestra, and he doesn't want to let Pim in, but she makes him let her in. She's like way bigger than him and very violent. And she tries out a few instruments. She ends up on like the triangle, I think.
The gong.
The gong. There we go. That's very Pim. But
I felt it was important.
it is. Debbie Berwick is a soloist who's like going to sing alongside this orchestra with a very beautiful voice. I don't think it's actually her voice. It kind of sounds like Allie.
Yeah, it does. It's definitely, well, maybe it is her, but I don't think it's her.
Yeah. And I know Debbie wants to get Pim out of the orchestra because she thinks Pim's like gonna steal her light or something.
She just thinks, no, like Pim cannot gong at the right time.
Oh, right.
Like
She's just
every single
bad.
time they keep practicing, she's not paying attention. She doesn't take cues. She gets distracted. So, like, either she's gonging way too soon or way too late, or like one time she hits it and knocks over and like falls on everyone. Like, she just sucks. And Debbie's like, we cannot have Pim perform. She's gonna ruin the show.
Which is surprisingly mean of Debbie Berwick because she's very nice.
Yeah.
And of course, Pim's like sabotaging on purpose, but then Pim finds out and decides to instead sabotage Debbie's solo. I think they tell her that she can't, I don't remember exactly. Okay, I do remember that she ends up like locking Bradley in a closet
Yeah.
and
That's exactly what happened.
taking his clothes and conducting the show and making the tempo go really fast and then really slow, and then making Debbie hold this note for so long that pizza gets delivered. She eats all of the pizza. And afterwards, Debbie is like, that was incredible. You really pushed me to my full potential.
Yeah. And she's like pissed.
Yeah, because she really wanted Debbie to get mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Debbie's a sweet little angel.
Do you have any notes on the B plot?
I'm pretty sure that this is from the B plot, but I'm not sure. This sounds like something Debbie would say. But I just wrote down my mom and her friends are having a cat circus.
Oh, no, that's Keely.
Oh, yes, Keely. Okay.
Yeah. Keely says some weird shit about her mom, and then in season 2 we meet her mom, and it doesn't fully add up for me.
Huh. Interesting. Excited to meet her. When Lloyd and Barb tell Pim that she needs to have a hobby, she goes, I have one. It's called television viewing. And I was just like, that's us.
Yeah.
Other than that, all my comments on this one is just, I think it's a fun B plot, actually. Really enjoyed it. I think it keeps the rest of the plot moving forward. I think this is one of the most fun B plots that we get.
I like it. It made me realize how much I missed evil Pim rants. I like the interplay of the episodes with Bradley and Pim and Debbie.
Yeah.
Bradley was not conducting correctly,
Oh.
which really bothered me.
I would have never caught that.
Yeah, he was not conducting correctly, even though they were acting like this was like a professional orchestra. I was like, you guys are 12. Literally 12.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're acting like this, but okay. I wrote, I aspire to be Pim Divvy. That was what because I love her level of petty, and I aspire to be that level of petty. I wrote down the quote was written a long time ago by a dead guy, because I'm pretty sure when she comes up on stage, she's like, they're going to play a song written a long time ago by some dead guy.
Yeah, that does sound like something she said.
That's about it. I just liked it. It really like keeps the tempo, like you said, of the show.
Yeah. Yeah. All my other comments were just like more about what you mentioned already creates continuity issues. But we know that this show, think of all the ones we've watched so far, this show
Oh my god,
is aired so out of production order.
it gets worse.
I know it gets worse in just the episodes that we're going through.
Yes.
And I'm sure in season 2 it continues.
Season 2's been yeah. Oh, my last note about this, which isn't really about, like, this episode, but I wrote it in this episode's notes and in a few other episodes' notes, is that I kinda feel like the outside shots of the house, which maybe we first saw in this one, look a little like the Good Luck Charlie house.
Oh, we should maybe look into that.
We should.
Hmm.
Anyway, moving on. Number 10, episode 10, Future Tutor. So this is production code 101. It is technically the first episode they produced and technically the pilot.
Yeah.
And it plays like a pilot. However, it aired 2 full months after the show started airing. Why this wasn't one of the 4 episodes that they first initially showed, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
It didn't even need to be the first. Like, normally the pilot is not the first episode that they air. But it would have made sense to be in the first 4 because for it to be episode 10 is very weird.
And the first 3 episodes by production code or whatever, like, pretty much this one and the next 2 that we're gonna talk about, which were all aired on the same day, 2 months after the
Yeah.
show started airing, debuted.
So weird.
So that's fun. Speaking of the continuity issues, Future Tutor. This is where we first find Phil and his family stuck in the 21st century.
Yep.
That's how do we find them stuck in the 21st century? They come out of the time machine?
No, so it opens up with Lloyd is using holograms trying to like pick out clothes for the kids to go to school. And Lloyd and Barb like sit the kids down in the living room and they have like a family conversation where they're like, we're stuck here. We can't fix the time machine. We don't know how much longer this is going to take. And at this point, we need to enroll you in school. And both Pim and Phil are terrified because they're like, we don't know how to be a student.
School in the 22nd century is clearly very different because there are comments like they go by age here and like the 50th grade.
Yeah.
They also don't know how to dress for the decade, so they go in full disco garb the first day. And they speak like in the lingo, the slang of the time.
Yeah. Phil has algebra class with Tia and Keely, which is where we first meet them.
And we find out they're actually the popular girls, which you know what? I didn't
know that.
Tia, of course, but Keely, we don't see Tia that much in the series. She's in like 5 episodes. And Keely never really pegged me as a popular girl.
Yeah, I don't know if you can tell that she's kind of in with the popular crowd. But yeah, this episode we really get the Keely's in with the popular crowd. Phil comes into algebra class. Keely's trying to solve a problem in front of the class. She's not doing so hot. Phil comes in, schools her, does the entire problem. And then when he's going out to lunch, he sees Keely and Tia, and he's trying to find a place to sit at lunch, and he just everywhere is clicky. He doesn't feel that there's anywhere for him. So this is where he meets Seth because Seth is the only one to let him join him at lunch.
Nerdy boy Seth. Also, no, I'll say it later. Sorry. Continue. I know nothing.
Then Phil like earlier offers to Keely to help tutor her. And she doesn't take him up on his offer at first. And then eventually she's like, okay, I'll let you tutor me. Let's meet at Otto's Pink Pig, which is like this German restaurant.
Authentic German.
Yeah, authentic German. There's like a band going around. And so they're having like a blast. Like they're learning, but they're also getting into the German shenanigans. And they're just like enjoying each other's company. They're ordering food. And then Tia walks in and Keely shoves Phil under the table. They both go under the table.
she shoves Phil under the table, or they both do, and then she pops up. She does
Yes.
talk to Tia, and Tia and her other friends, like, scoot into the booth, and Phil's, like, stuck and has to sneak out, but not
Yeah.
before overhearing them. I think Tia specifically came because they heard Phil was there or something, and that it was maybe not Phil. They heard something funny was going on that, like,
Yeah, I think they just came.
no, but they also were like, "Why are you here? This is such a weird place to be."
But yeah, so Phil sneaks away. He's like a little upset about it. She ends up apologizing and explaining like clicks and everything to him. And then the next day at lunch, she ends up actually going and joining him for lunch. Um, and so he tries to like stand up and give a speech about like people just being people and we don't need to like sit in cliques. And Keely like pulls him down. He's like, this is not the right. She's like, this is not the right crowd.
No. I have many notes, but do we wanna say a meanwhile to the B plot, or do we wanna go over the notes of Phil's plot first?
Oh my god. Let's go over the notes of this one first. 'Cause the B plot is small, so we can go out.
Okay, when Keely was at the whiteboard struggling to solve the math problem, she says, "This is like professional algebra." I'm pretty sure she says that. That's a quote I have written down. I think that's when she says it.
That's pretty funny because like what does that mean?
Yeah. I don't know when this happens, but my next note is Keely is a real one for improvising an excuse on the spot.
I don't. Oh, probably for when they ran into her at Otto's Pink Pig, but I don't know what her excuse for being there was.
But I have other notes in between.
Huh, I don't know then. I have notes mostly. Oh my god, I think this was a Seth quote. Ha ha ha. Okay. Notes that I have about this plot. Keely and Tia at the beginning are like, who loves math? And who'd admit it? And like Phil's like, oh, we love math.
Mhm.
Also, I don't remember when this happens, but I know it's Phil. Phil has to like shake hands with someone and he doesn't know what to do.
Oh my god, that does happen.
And I was like, oh my god, do they not shake hands because they know the pandemic happened? That's where my brain went. Oh. Also, they show us what future school is, just moving right along from that one.
It's virtual.
It's virtual reality and there's commercials, and I have to say, just felt a little too much like that is where I actually see school going, and it
Mhm.
really made me feel uncomfortable.
I actually wrote a note down about that as well, of it being oh, like, the old school being TV with ads is terrifying, but also why couldn't they keep doing it if it's just
Yeah, it's just virtual reality, but maybe because it only exists in the future.
oh, they didn't have the goggles yet? Like, they left the goggles at home?
Yeah, I don't know.
They seem to have all their other gadgets.
Yeah, that's true. And then I'm pretty sure it's a Seth quote. Maybe it's a Phil quote, but I wrote down, I had the naughtiest dream last night about an improper
Oh my god, I
fracture.
wrote that down too. I have another Seth quote, which I forgot he was in this episode, and so I didn't know that it was a Seth quote until just now, but there's no one else who could say this. When he and Phil are having lunch together, the first day he says, "One day you and I are gonna own these people." And then there's like a cha-ching sound.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is terrifying, and thank God that Keely isn't black.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You can't own people?
No, I get what he was saying. He was saying,
We're gonna be their boss.
yeah.
Which is an acceptable thing that many people say. We
Yeah.
don't say we're gonna own them.
Well,
Own these people.
yeah.
Just before, like, you really owned that was popular.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just also feel like that's what capitalism is.
Yep. Also, I felt like this episode confirmed that Keely maybe has ADHD. She was all over the place.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I don't remember her being all over the place.
And I was very confused as to why they're 14 and he's teaching her basic fractions. That made me really upset because I learned those in like 4th grade.
I felt like it was like solving for X and stuff.
There was some of that too, I think.
But there was basic fractions.
Yeah, it was written down.
Mhm.
I cringed really hard when Phil stood up. Did you cringe really hard? I was like, this is not going to go well at the end.
No, but I thought it was very true to his character, and I appreciate it.
That's true. That does develop more in season 2 as well.
Yeah.
That's what I have for the main plot. Do you have anything else?
Nope.
I also have come on Keely. He's talking schnitzel. Because I think it was the point where he was like, I'm talking schnitzel.
Yeah. The only other thing I noted, we've brought it up before, the chopsticks in the hair. We see it in this episode. We've seen it in other Disney Channel shows where, as a hairstyle, a lot of the white actresses will put chopsticks in their hair.
I sometimes use hair sticks.
Oh, really?
But not like I can like put my hair up in a bun with one stick.
Okay, sure.
That looks like a chopstick though.
Yeah. But not like the, you know what I'm talking about. The early
Yeah,
2000s
you're
chopstick
right.
style.
Yeah, I think Keely does do that.
She does in this episode.
Okay, the B plot is of course Pim's day at school. First couple of days, she also wears the disco clothes. They get their clothes together the next day.
Yeah. Also, the schools are like combined. I don't know if we've ever.
Oh
brought this
yeah,
up.
it's H2L's junior and high school.
Yeah. So like they go to the same school.
And Vice Principal Hackett is the vice principal of both. Pim's teacher is asking for a chalk monitor.
Yep.
And Debbie Berwick raises her hand, so Pim raises her hand, and they have a whole election bribing people to vote to be chalk monitor.
Mm-hmm.
Pim wins, right?
She does win.
But really, by being chalk monitor, she kind of loses.
She loses because she's like tap out all of the erasers and get all the chalk off, and like it just I don't know why you would want to do that.
This sounds like it's a one sentence B plot. Like it sounds dumb, but it's actually a pretty elaborate B plot. The
Yeah.
whole like there's a smear campaign, there's cupcakes, there's 9 pounds of chalk they have to monitor or something.
Yeah.
One of them says, I care about our nation's chalk. I'm sure that was Pim.
Yeah. My favorite part is so obviously we know Debbie likes to bake and she bakes stuff and like brings it in for school for different things, for fundraisers, for things like this. So Pim's like, I need to bring in homemade brownies.
And I need to make them the old fashioned way. I can't spray them out of a can.
Yes. So her and Barb are making homemade brownies. Where do they try to cook it in? The dishwasher.
How they confuse the dishwasher for the oven, I don't fully know. Like, I understand that they don't know what those things are, but they know what so many other things are. This is like them not like Barb and Lloyd not recognizing the cops trying to pull them over. It's like, you should really know this basic thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It seems very silly because it's like spraying water.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you think that that was an oven? Also, the noises it makes, but I thought it was pretty funny.
Also, just this episode being the first one where they realize they're stuck in the past and all of that, the kids are handling it really well. There's never talk about their old friends or their old school or like.
I would say that Pim is not handling it that well. She's not. They both are not excited and are very openly nervous about starting school.
Sure, they're nervous, but they're not like crying and like, I just want to go home and
Yeah.
kind of just rolling with the punches.
Yeah, because, like, what else are they going to do? Also, I can never imagine Pim crying.
That's fair.
She just seems, like, too tough for that.
She is, and I love her. Except she did have a crybaby routine about how lonely she was and how hard it was starting a new school, and that was part of how she won the election, I think.
Oh.
I did write down not the lonely crybaby routine, Pam.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next one.
Wait.
Okay.
At the end, the end of the episode is them thinking that they're going to go back home and that the time machine is fixed. And we learn that the time machine looks like an RV. And Willie's just getting towed.
Oh, right. Okay, episode 11, Future Jock.
Future Doc.
In this one, Phil wants to impress Keely, so he sees this hot gymnastics guy at school, and he decides he has to join the gymnastics team, and he uses a future gadget, probably a wizard or something, I don't know the name of this one specifically, to make himself really good at gymnastics, like really good, and then he joins the team with the coach. I didn't write down the actor's actual name, but he's the dad from Good Luck Charlie, and he has to compete in the gymnastics tournament. However, Pim realizes what's happening. She rats him out. The parents are like, you can't use your future gadgets. And then I think he has the option to use them in the end, but he decides, no, I shouldn't use my future gadgets. So he goes to the gymnastics tournament and he's just absolutely bombing it. And then Pim.
Wait, no, so what happens is he chooses not to use it. And so he takes the gadget and he throws it off to the side. But it ends up rolling under the like spring that they jump off of to go onto the bar. And so it makes him like crazy, crazy jumping, and he's just like spinning around the bar at like rapid speed.
I thought Pim hit him with a mini missile, and that's why he spins around at rapid speed.
No, it's because he tosses it to the side. He's like, I'm not going to use this. Pim gives him the option, and then he's like, I'm not going to use this. I don't want to use it. And he tosses it to the side, and it rolls underneath.
But I specifically wrote down, would a mini missile really work that way? And I thought it was about him like flying on the bars. Guys, you gotta watch it and tell us what happens.
Yeah.
Either way,
The only thing she uses a missile for is to take out the trash.
that's why I thought this was part of her revenge or something.
Mm-mm. She just uses a missile to take out the trash, and she gets kitchen duty as punishment. But then she ends up like catching Phil using future gadgets, and that's why she's like, I want to get back at Phil because I'm in trouble for using future gadgets.
That did happen.
And he's using future gadgets.
Pim is perpetually pissed off because Phil is never in trouble.
Yeah. Well, he's not evil.
He's not evil, but he does get up to shit he shouldn't.
Not as much as Pim.
He's cocky. Anyway, so this is one of the ones where the A's and the B's overlap.
The A's and the B's overlap. It's all kind of one plot. Yep.
Yeah. And Keely is impressed with him at first, and then when he's bad at gymnastics, I don't remember, but I'm sure she gets over it because it's Phil and Keely. At this point, we should say Keely doesn't know Phil's from the future, which when we started watching it, I was like when I started watching and I did not realize these episodes existed, I was like, oh wow, it's so refreshing that like you just get the theme song that tells you exactly what it's about. There's no like future reveal. There's no like them having to adjust. Keely knows. Similarly to that, so Raven, how they just know that she's psychic. No, there's a reveal episode, and there's this first day of school episode, and there's this like episode in between. It's fine.
Yeah, I would still say that the theme song does lay out what happens in the show, and they don't explain as much as they explain in the theme song. But yes, these episodes do feel weird and unnecessary.
Yeah, I like how many inventions I have to come up with as well.
It's fun. It makes it exciting.
There's almost a new invention every episode, especially in season 1. Do you have any idea why I wrote the note, belly button thing is real?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
I think maybe, I don't know. Does he have a belly button? I think.
Oh, is this connected to the next episode where there's some like
difference? A little Alex Y moment. I don't know. There's something about a belly button. Who is Troy? Is also one of my notes. Troy is the gymnastics guy, I assume. I don't know why I cared.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly I want to know, what is this hold that gymnastics had on Disney Channel in the early aughts? Was this because of the 96 Olympics team, or like, because this is the fourth show? We had rhythmic gymnastics and Lizzie McGuire. I'm pretty sure we had the gymnastics exchange student from like Romania and That's So Raven. I don't think we had, I think we just had cheerleading and even Stevens. I don't think we had gymnastics, but still, like,
yeah.
Why? Because schools don't actually have gymnastics.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, if you're into, it's like ice skating. If you're into one of those hobbies, it's very expensive and you do it after school. Instead of doing one of the things that school actually offers, like track and field, basketball, etc.
Also, one of the quotes I have written down, don't know what it's from. Think it was probably Lloyd watching TV, is "It's idiotic and it's moronic and I can't get enough of it."
I wrote that down too. It was about reality TV.
Yes. Who wrote it? Was it Lloyd?
I have no idea. I didn't write who wrote it.
Who said it? Whatever. I think there's a line in there where Lloyd's worried about the mailman.
Yep. I didn't write that down, but yes, I do remember. He's kind of like, this guy comes to our house every single day.
Yeah,
And he checks it out like the same guy.
yeah, he thinks they're being spied on.
Which this is a common reoccurrence with Lloyd. Because he thinks that the government is finding out that they're from the future. The only other note here is the first time we hear the town that they're from, which is Pickford. If you Google Pickford, you don't really get a lot.
And you hear it a lot after this.
Yeah. So we know the town they're in, but it's not like That's So Raven where they're in San Francisco. Like, Pickford is just fictional. So we still don't actually know where it takes place.
I have a couple more notes of the Good Luck Charlie dad has a terrible accent. It's the gymnastics
God.
coach. I can't even tell if it's supposed to be Russian or German.
I wrote down what is the coach's accent. I don't understand.
It's terrible.
It's horrible.
And then also the last quote was, "Have you given any thought to 2012 Olympics?"
Oh, yeah.
Which is a quote from the kid that plays Zeke in Wizards of Waverly Place.
Yep.
He shows up at the end, being very excited. Episode 12, you say tomato.
I do have to say, this is a good episode. I remember this episode. This is one that definitely was on the repeats. Like, I don't remember a lot of the Phil of the Future episodes. I have to be honest with you guys. It's not like Raven where I was like, oh, remember watching that one and that one and that one. Phil just did not have that level of impact on me. Though rewatching it, I'm like, oh yeah, those characters, stuff like that. This episode, I remember.
So they're taking a class field trip to a local tomato farm because this is where we find out that Pickford is known for their tomatoes, and that's Pickford's biggest defining feature for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
And Phil's nervous about the field trip, but we don't know why for a bit. Because they find out that,
did you say that they're stomping on tomatoes?
No, that's what I was going to say, is that Keely says that one of the activities is walking in a vat of tomatoes while barefoot. And something about this makes Phil really uncomfortable, so he lies to her and says he can't go or he's allergic to tomatoes or a couple of things.
Yeah, he says he's allergic to tomatoes.
And then he goes home, I think, and tells Lloyd about it. And this is where we find out the people of the future only have 4 toes on each foot. They don't have pinky toes. And these kids who do not know how to use an oven versus a dishwasher or what the police are know that people still have 5 toes per foot. How he knows that, I'm not entirely sure. And so Lloyd makes him this funky little prosthetic.
Yeah.
Just makes him this little clay toe. Sticks it on. Looks great.
It looks actually pretty good.
Phil's excited because then he gets to go. He tells Keely, no, you misunderstood. Whatever, I'm over it. I want to have fun. And they're stumbling around in the tomatoes. And then he loses his toe.
And he sees it in the vat of tomatoes. But who also sees it? One of the workers, who's gonna go and try to fetch out the foreign object. So Phil grabs a tomato and chucks it at him. But actually it hits Keely. And they start to full-on trope time food fight.
In the style of the Spanish Tomato Festival.
Yes.
And Keely's they have a food fight and Keely's having fun, but she's also the whole episode kind of been Phil's being kind of weird. And she's not sure if he's really being weird and if she should say something. And then I think she does say something after the food fight, right?
Yeah. Keely confronts Phil and tells him that he doesn't have to lie to her. So then he doesn't lie to her. and he tells her that he's from the future, and she goes on into shock.
Yeah. As one would.
Yeah.
We get a full-on future reveal.
Yeah. And then Lloyd freaks out that Keely knows, but Keely ends up coming over to the house and kind of consoling Phil and consoling the family and letting them know that, their secrets are safe with her and kind of making them feel comfortable with the whole thing.
Oh, and then they go flying off on the skyak.
Yeah.
Yes.
The skyak scenes, just because you brought up the skyak, and I've been wanting to talk about this, the CGI on the skyak scenes could not be more terrible.
It could. But they're still bad, yes.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
But it's not uncommon.
It's like deep chocolate CGI bad.
But it gives me Wizards of Waverly Place flying carpet CGI. It gives me Halloween Town flying on the broom CGI.
Sure.
And I just have to say, like, I have a few other notes, but I have to say on this one, flying off with someone who just found out your secret, a la Halloween Town High, seems really dangerous. Like, that
Yeah.
seems like a bad. People are gonna fall off. They're gonna be freaked out.
Yeah.
Why would you? I think it's really funny that we lose our pinky toes in 75 years.
Yeah, I do. I want to have a conversation about this because
Hmm?
weirdly, I've broken a lot of toes. We're not going to get into Jess and her toes too much, but I've broken the pinky toe on my right foot 5 times. When you break a toe that often, you get a risk of skin infection, which can lead into bone infection, which just happens when you break the same bone over and over again. Because of that, one time I had a very scary doctor's appointment with a podiatrist in which he was like, you have a skin infection, you need to you need to use crutches until it heals, at least for the next 3 weeks. And I was like, God, I don't want to be on crutches. It's annoying. We went to a huge, giant high school that is annoying as hell to navigate on crutches.
Square Mile campus.
Yeah, like it's not fun. And basically he gave me this huge lecture on how if it went to my bone, they would have to remove my toe and that's 6 months of physical therapy minimum. And it's true because we don't know how to walk with 4 toes.
Yeah.
The pinky toe and your big toe are like your main way your foot balances.
Yeah.
And so this is why I don't understand how the 4 toes would work.
Okay.
Unless they're shifted.
Well, we regularly did as kids say, like, do we really need our pinky toes? And then people would be like, yeah, you need it for balance. So, like, I get where the thought comes from of the story idea.
Yeah.
But the fact that you could have it removed and it would only take 6 months of physical therapy and you would be able to walk afterwards means that we don't really need it.
I mean, see, that's where I feel different. I feel that we do need it.
No, if we needed it, then you wouldn't be able to get over not
Sure,
having
your
it.
body eventually adapts.
Yeah.
But I'm like, is it now their 4 toes are in the same spot as our 4 toes, or are his 4 toes more spread out? Because the way it looked when they put the fake toe in, his foot just looked like a normal foot.
That's true. They never show us the 4-toed foot.
So if 4 toes are spread out, like if he put in the weird 5th toe, it would look strange.
I don't know exactly how it would work, but I like to think that our bodies are still evolving.
Sure. 75 years, guys.
75 years is not a long, it is a very short time for that kind of evolution to happen.
And really, that was like 20 years ago, 18 years ago. So really, we're looking at like 50 something years from now.
I'm not sure if I wrote 75 years because I did the math or if that's what he said.
Oh, I wrote it down too. That is exactly what he said.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the side plot?
Oh, the side plot, I think, is that Mr. Hackett, it's Debbie and Pim over here, Mr. Hackett saying that he needs money for the surgery, and so they decide to raise money for his surgery. Pim's only doing it to beat Debbie at anything, literally anything ever.
Yeah.
And they're like having bake sales and stuff.
Yep.
And then it turns out he's getting hair follicle surgery, hair replacement surgery. So they give him the money and then they take it back.
Correct. And then they only put in the like front piece and not the back piece.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Right, because they've already put in the front piece, and then the girls come in and take the money away, and he's like, "But then I don't have any money to pay for this," and the person leaves because he's getting it in his
office at school while he's working.
Teachers cannot take money from students. It was like $200 of money, of cash.
Yeah.
You can't just take $200 from your 12-year-old students. That's really fucked up. And like they tell him that they're fundraising for him, and he's like, "Thank you so much, girls." He's never like, "You don't need to worry about me."
Yeah.
It really bothered me.
That bothered me less than it bothered you, but I understand why it bothered you.
That's my only note about this plotline, but I do actually have a couple extra notes from the other plotline that
Go for it.
Sometimes when Phil is like, "I have something to tell you," because they're talking about being honest and having a secret, and she's talking about honesty and how like you can tell her anything, and she's like sometimes I have a dream that I'm married to Mr. Potato Head. I also wrote down the tension, the chemistry on this episode.
Yeah.
And when Keely comes to the Diffie house and the Diffies are pretending that they are from not the future, they're like, or no, it might not be her. I don't know. Someone comes to the Diffie house and Barb says that they moved from Lawrence, Kansas, the geographical center of the nation.
Yeah.
Which is apparently not actually the geographical center, but it's the closest city to the geographical center.
Oh, interesting.
As informed to me by my ex-boyfriend from Kansas.
Oh, did you text him that?
Yes, I thought it was funny.
Got it.
And he was like, "That's like it's a number of miles away, but sure."
He's like, it's accurate enough.
Yes, those are all my notes.
Great.
It's a really fun episode, guys.
It's a fun episode. The next episode
is even more fun.
Yeah.
So this one we have a Halloween episode, and it's titled Halloween.
Yeah. They want to let you know what you're getting. Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start here because I wrote a very crazy summary. Do you have like a more summed up summary?
Debbie makes cupcakes for charity.
Yeah.
And
she wants to make / sell 50,000.
And she gets lots of people involved to do this. And something's up with Debbie. And sometimes when she talks, it comes out like a very angry man.
Yeah.
And it's revealed that Debbie is actually a Sugar and Spice 800, which is the model of robot, which was discontinued in the future because they all like went evil and started to take over the world. Does that about sum it up?
Yeah, they refer to her as a cyborg. So she said like specific model, but yes, Debbie's a cyborg. But I think we need to go into like some of the details here where
she's using slave labor. Like the children are terrified for their lives. That's why they're doing it.
And like Pim, who is not afraid of a thing, is terrified of Debbie.
Yes.
Phil learns that Debbie is a cyborg, and he knows that this specific model, which he learned from Lloyd, starts to dysfunction if they overheat. Mm-hmm. So they basically get Debbie to the point where she's so frustrated with them not moving fast enough, them not boxing and making enough cupcakes.
Well, then they eat all of them. They start eating the cupcakes.
Yeah, so she goes, I'm starting to overheat. And that's when Phil's like, oh, you are? And picks up one and like takes a bite and encourages everyone to take a bite. So then she ends up malfunctioning.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember how Pim gets Phil involved. One of my favorite notes about this is that I copied and pasted the Wikipedia summary, and there's in parentheses, the canonicity of the episode is called into question by the fact that the character of Debbie appears in the episode Neanderville, which both aired and was produced after this episode. It's actually the episode we're about to talk about next. But I think it's really funny that an episode of Debbie Berwick being a cyborg is like potentially considered canon. And they're like, but the fact that she's in another episode after this means that it's not canon. Like that's what makes it not canon. Because it's not one of those Halloween episodes where like everything was a dream, which is what Disney usually does.
Yeah, I was waiting for that to happen. And what actually happens is when she overheats, she literally melts into a black puddle
Yes.
onto the floor, and then Pim's eyes turn red. Like, so Debbie, sometimes you'll see, like, as the cyborg, her eyes will, like, flash red.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the episode, Pim's eyes do that. So they don't give you any answers. There's no, like, this is a dream. It was all made up. It was some weird reality within a reality.
There's none of that, but there is narration. And I think it's like, let me tell you a spooky story or something. Like, I think Phil's narrating it, maybe?
Oh, I didn't write that down, but maybe.
I wrote down narration was a weird choice. And then I wrote down Debbie snapping was the right choice. Because I loved that it wasn't about Pim or Phil.
Yeah.
That it was Debbie Berwick.
Yeah.
Who was just disturbingly kind. Also, kind of a side plot is that Phil and Keely are gonna have couples costumes and they're trying to figure it out. But they don't call it couples costumes, but they're couple costumes.
And she suggests I could be the window washer and you could be the window. That was my favorite suggestion that she made because I was like, what are those costumes gonna look like?
She threw out quite a few, if I remember correctly.
She did, but that was my favorite one.
Debbie dislikes naughty nibblers, as in people who eat cupcakes, and chihuahua.
Uh-huh.
Which are not the only things that she dislikes, but those are, in this episode, the things that she dislikes. She dislikes naughty nibblers and chihuahuas. She very clearly says that. Yeah. She also says, oh, moose knuckles.
Phil and Debbie, like, get in a full-on laser fight. It's, like, very intense, and she's, like, dodging them.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else other to say about that part.
There's outtakes in this episode. That's fun.
Yeah, I was going to say, this episode has bloopers instead of photos at the end, which I prefer. I'm not a big fan of the photos at the end. I do like the bloopers, but it had like 3 minutes of bloopers, which I was like, why are we getting so many? I would rather have more episodes.
That's the thing is that I like bloopers, but I don't like that I have to pay attention for that much longer.
Yeah. Also, I wrote, I don't think this is the scariest Halloween episode, but it is the strangest.
I really like it. I don't think it's the scariest.
I think it might be my favorite Halloween episode.
Really?
I don't like the Even Stevens one. I think it's terrifying. The That's So Raven one is just a lot.
The That's So Raven to me is the scariest.
Yeah. The Lizzie McGuire one was just like, we're giving you Halloween, but we're not giving you Halloween, and there's plots within plot. It was just weird.
I do really like this one, yeah. It feels cohesive. I like that it could be canon.
Yeah.
I like that it's not a main character being evil.
And instead of giving us a gadget from the future, they give us, like, the concept of cyborgs. Like, they still give us something from the future, which is very fitting with what they've done so far. So it fits in as an episode to the series as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Next one. Episode 17, Neanderthal.
Oh, we're not going to do Age Before Beauty?
Were we going to do Age Before Beauty?
Nope, let's skip it.
Did we say we were doing Age Before Beauty?
I watched it. Episode 17, Neanderthal. This episode opens up with Curtis attacking the postman. And so while that's happening, Lloyd's like, who let Curtis answer the door? And he does a brain switch with Phil and Curtis to keep Curtis from attacking the postman. And this is how we kind of learn about this technology. This is important because it sets up the episode. Keely, now we're in school. Keely's talking about this new job she got. She's going to be working for a catering service and she's going to be making some money. And in the hallway, Phil sees this girl and he's like, Keely, who is that? She's like, it's Alice DeLuca. Like, She's the mayor's daughter. Like, Keely knows all these facts about her. She does karate. She does.
Keely's popular and knows who everyone in school is.
Yes. And so Phil forms a crush on Alice, and he decides to go to karate club.
Yeah, well, Keely lists out like 3 facts, like she's the president of French club, she's the president of karate. I don't know if she's the president, but she's in French club, she's in karate club, and one other thing. Oh, and she likes horses.
She rides horses.
And so Phil pretends that he knows karate and speaks French.
Yes. And so they end up being in karate class. He's pretending to have everything in common with Alice. Alice ends up kicking his ass and he passes out on the floor. And then she invites him to the mayor's ball.
Yes, because she's the mayor's daughter and she needs a date.
Yep. So, and she's like totally trying to feel out this.
Yeah.
Like, I would say she's not crushing as much as Phil, but she's definitely like vibing on him a little.
She's vibing on the idea of this guy who supposedly has a lot in common with her.
Yes. So they're at the ball, they're having a good time. Keely is feeling really uncomfortable because she's working as the like caterer server for the event.
She got a job at a catering company that is specifically working the governor's ball, which
Yeah.
she does tell Phil beforehand, I think.
Yeah, I said that.
Okay,
That
sorry.
they were in the hallway at school and Keely was telling him about this new job that she got. They're having a good time. And Alice is like, let me introduce you to my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go to meet the mayor. And at that time, Phil and Curtis's brain switch.
Yes. Someone presses the button, maybe?
I think it's something like Lloyd's trying to fix the wizard because something happened to it. And so their brain switches and he turns into Curtis. And he's like running off, being all inappropriate. And Keely pulls Phil aside. And while Phil is Curtis, is telling him, like, hey, basically saying that, like, she feels a little jealous.
While Phil is Curtis. So she's saying this to who she thinks is Phil, but it's actually Curtis. So he does not respond well. He's like,
Oh,
yeah, and then running off. And so she feels really dismissed.
yes. He runs off because he sees a like taxidermied bear. So then he turns back into Phil. They're sitting out down for dinner. They're having a good time. He's sitting next to the mayor. He's interacting. He's being polite. And bam, he is back to being Curtis again. He's fighting over dinner rolls. He's chucking dinner rolls. He ends up like climbing the banister and they're all like throwing things at him.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that moment, Phil becomes Phil again and falls down to the floor.
Mm-hmm. And then Alice breaks up with him.
Yeah.
And he has the last dance with Keely. And she yells at the catering company owner to not worry about it. Because he's been like writing her.
Yeah.
And that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of notes written down. I'm sure there's a Pym. Oh, there is a Pym plotline, but we'll get into that. Yeah. First, crumbly Gorgonzola, who let Curtis open the door?
I like that it's funny to do this in person because all of the quotes that you have written down, I also have written down.
Because the stuff that they say in this show is so dumb and fun.
Yes.
And it's like you would expect either it would just be the future people or it would just be Debbie.
Everyone.
Everyone.
Like, I would love to be able to sit in on that writer's room because you have people from the future and you have these really fun characters. They were able to just throw in the funniest lines that still fit. And so then you get things like crumbling Gorgonzola.
This one felt a little weird because Phil has a crush on someone that isn't Keely, even though we've seen him crush on Keely already.
Yeah.
So I don't really love that.
Yeah, but Alice is a cutie.
She is a cutie.
But also, like, don't pretend that you have hobbies. And it's okay to express interest in other people's hobbies. but don't pretend that those hobbies and passions are identical to your own hobbies and passions because you want them to be interested in you. It is never going to end up well, nor is it ever going to end up in your favor, as Phil learns as he's crashing down to the floor after people pelt him with dinner rolls.
If he learns that, though, because here's the thing. He gets broken up with because of the whole switching bodies with Curtis thing. But the whole lying about French and karate doesn't ever really.
No, that's why she breaks up with him, because he tells her the truth. He's like, I'm not into karate. I don't speak French. Like, I just really wanted to be.
But he doesn't have to tell her that.
No, he doesn't, but he does.
Like, that's what I'm just realizing now, like, the consequence isn't actually related to the buildup.
Well, she breaks up with him because, not because he's turning into Curtis. Yeah, he's acting inappropriate, and she's like, what's going on? But it's once he admits he lied about these things is when she breaks up.
Yeah, but he didn't have to admit it because people are only looking at him because he's acting like a caveman.
Sure.
So the two things were unrelated.
Sure.
Okay, that's fine. I'm also tired of seeing white people do karate, whether it's bad, whether it's good. It was a very early aughts thing. I'm not saying you can't do karate as a white person. I'm just tired of the overrepresentation of white people doing karate in children's media instead of Chinese people doing karate.
Mm-hmm.
Like Asian American kids doing karate. I'm not saying they have to do karate, but like, why is it usually only Asian people or only white people?
Mm-hmm. That is very true.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. But it was a very popular thing at the time. You know, Karate Kid was a huge hit.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, even like Cobra Kai, I feel like that's all what Cobra Kai is too. So
That's true. Haven't seen it. Alice's hair is so early 2000s, as a note, because I think she had like funky hair. This is okay. I assigned this episode because this is the first time we see Keely into Phil, and I really want to give her props where props are due because she has the gumption to go up and be like, "Hey, like this is hard to say, but I'm feeling the J word, jealous."
yeah.
Like that's a very mature thing to
Yeah.
just admit that as you're feeling it, not expecting to feel it to your friend.
Yeah. She's like, it's very hard for me to be here working and watch you with Alice.
Which is also interesting that they had that. I mean, yes, he was not aware of it, but I'm sure he becomes aware of it. You know, he was Curtis at the moment, but I think he becomes aware of it when he's Phil again.
Yeah.
But interesting to have that conversation, but it not amount to anything of like, well, why were you jealous?
Yeah, I wish we could get more. And yeah, I guess that's a question they don't really answer is like, is he aware of it? Or when he's Phil, when he's Curtis, is that just stored in Curtis's brain? Because their brains are actually switching.
Yeah.
So then once he switches back to Phil, like maybe he has no memory of what happened when he was Curtis. Because it isn't addressed.
Mm-hmm. My only other A plot note is that the mayor says the only Bond I like is Barry Bonds.
Oh, he does. I didn't write down that one.
Anything else about the A plot?
No, I do have some stuff to say about the B plot.
Okay, B plot is what's the B plot? Oh,
Deb and Pim's friendiversary. So Deb puts
1 month, 2 month.
something like that. I just wrote friendiversary. She puts balloons in Pim's locker. Pim is so angry about this. It makes her rage. So much so that Barb is like, Pim, you need to go to yoga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she has to go to yoga for anger management, not meditation, not actual anger management, yoga for anger management. And the instructor, Miss D, or whatever they call her, is supposed to be the best in Pickford. It's Debbie Berwick.
Yep. And during yoga class, Pam tells Debbie that they were never best friends to begin with and has this whole spiel. It definitely does not help with her anger management.
Mm-hmm. And she's like trying to watch shows and stuff and get away with it. And then she feels bad. Her mom makes her feel bad.
Yeah. And then they have a little like come back together moment, but I don't really remember what it was.
Pam agrees to be Debbie's friend with conditions.
Oh,
She
yeah.
has
She makes her sign
100,
each
and she has to
contract.
sign a contract with 117 conditions,
I do remember that.
including no adding ski to the end of words and no public lunching. However, there is no condition about doily hats. So they have to go make doily hats together. Yeah, 117 conditions. That's a lot. Also, we also find out Pim only goes to school 3 days a week.
No, she's supposed to go to school 5 days a week.
Yeah, she only goes to school 3 days a week.
Uh-huh.
We find out in this episode.
Yeah, what is she doing the other 2 days? And like they don't call her parents. She's only
Mhm.
12.
I think she just throws it out there of like
Yeah.
the 3 days, and someone's like the 5 days.
Yeah, her mom.
Yeah. Also, she says, "Don't hose my buzz." I like that one. It actually
Don't
makes
hose
sense.
my buzz. Yeah, it is good. There are other things, like yoga's not anger management. It's a spiritual practice. There's a lot more to it. So like that's a problem within itself. Like send your child to therapy, teach them meditation. There are other things. But Debbie goes, and then we are going to do candy cane pose, which they then don't show it. And I was very curious, what the fuck is candy cane pose? But also, it just reminds me of a lot of like online instructors that don't use the traditional terms. They're like, and then we are going to do this pose, but don't give you both. Because it just felt very in tune with how
White people colonizing yoga.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Last episode we are going to talk about is episode 21, Team Diffie, and I don't have a whole lot to say about this one, so it should be a pretty quick wrap up. But we kind of have to hop on it for like continuity reasons. You have more to say. We just watched it today, and I happen to also be here.
But also we walked like a lot of steps.
I'm so tired. I need so much sugar.
So many steps. And I don't even know where I was. Oh, I was dead in bed watching this last episode. So like, yes, I just watched it, but I was like a potato of a human being.
Immediately took a nap after.
Yeah.
So Andy Wexler shows up.
Nope. Andy Baxley.
Andy Baxley shows up. And he is played.
Who's Andy Wexler? Why is Wexler familiar?
Principal Wexler.
Oh, okay.
And he shows up and he's Orlando Brown.
Yeah. I think we need a restart.
No, we don't. This is going really great. So
Andy Wexler, and he's Orlando Brown.
Yes, not Baxley. Andy Baxley. He's Orlando Brown, also known as Eddie Thomas from That's So Raven. He shows up and he's like, "What up, Diffies? I was time traveling for school and I saw your like, I don't know, dot on the time map thingy.
Yeah.
I was like gonna come see what you were doing here. Why'd you settle down in this country?" And they like they pussyfoot around it for a bit, and then they're like, "Actually, we got stuck here, and would you help us?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, you can hop a ride back to the 22nd century." And so they're getting ready to leave, and they're so excited.
Yes.
Pim makes this crazy, and I don't use the word crazy lightly because I am a bit crazy, like actually. So I don't use that word lightly, but it's a pretty insane video that she makes where she is mimicking Debbie. She's like, "I'm leaving, and you guys need to, like, I'm Debbie Berwick, and I have a stupid mustache, and I have a stupid blah blah blah," and she just loses it. Full on loses it.
Yep.
And submits that to be played with the school announcements. And meanwhile, we find out Andy is a bit of a bad boy.
Yeah.
The parents.
Troublemaker.
He's a bit of a troublemaker.
Mm-hmm.
Lloyd and Barb absolutely love him. I think that he's great. Lloyd's like, you were always one of my favorites of Phil's friends. And Andy's like, I had a feeling. But Phil is like, Andy is two things. Mean and what's the other one?
I don't know. It's like mean and angry and angry and mean.
Yeah, he was like, he has 2 modes, like mean and angry and angry and mean. But I don't think
It
it's
wasn't
angry.
It wasn't, but I don't remember what it was.
I don't know, but you get the point. You get the point.
Yes. Also, while like all of this is happening and we're establishing Andy's character and that Andy's going to take them back to the future, we also learn that the mayor is unveiling. Can't speak.
Statue of the town's founder,
Friar Fred.
Friar Fred. An actual friar. Keely, Phil, and the whole town are very excited about this grandiose moment in Pickford history.
Yes. Yep. And so we learn that this is happening. We see the mayor around where the statue is going to be unveiled the next day. And Andy's like, we need to have some fun here. Like, there's nothing to do in Pickford. Like, this is so boring. So he pulls out his wizard and pantses the mayor.
He does.
And it makes Phil very uncomfortable because, as we mentioned, like, Phil does not use magic. Is it magic?
No, it's future technology. This is sci-fi, not fantasy.
Sorry. He doesn't use his future technologies in front of others ever.
Or to bully or to do wrong.
Yeah. He just uses it like out of necessity, sometimes out of convenience. But he's like very uncomfortable with this. And so Andy, in order to take them back to the future, wants to pull like a huge prank during the unveiling of the statue of Friar Fred. Phil's very uncomfortable with this and is like, no, I don't want to do that. And he's like, then I'm not taking you back to 2121. And Phil's like, fine. Well, Phil changes his mind. He decides his family really, really wants to go back to the future. He doesn't know how to tell him.
You can't ruin their chances.
Yes. There's this really funny, I have to mention it. There's this really funny scene of Keely and Phil like chatting about Andy, and Phil is going through all the things he hates about Andy, and he's like crushing nuts.
And Keely's like, you always crush nuts when you're angry.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, I don't. Pass me a walnut. And she gives it to him. And he's like, that's a Brazil nut.
Yeah. It's pretty great. And so they have that little thing, and then we see them at the statue unveiling of Friar Fred. Well, right before the statue's unveiled, and Andy turns the statue alive, and the statue starts walking around, and then he turns Phil into a statue.
This isn't specifically at the unveiling, is it?
Before the unveiling.
So when they were like wanting to play a prank and Phil was like, I don't want to do this. And then he was like, never mind, you can do it. Andy had like changed the statue so that it was picking its nose, and he changed the name from Pickford to Pick Nose.
Yeah.
Which one of my very few notes is he's like, Pickfoot. No. And then he puts Pick Nose, and he thinks that's so much better. And like, Pickfoot is a much better play on words than Pickford. And Pick Nose. It's fine, whatever. So he does all of that, and then I think Phil gets a conscience again, changes the statue back, and Andy's angry.
So they keep like going back and forth and back and forth.
So then he turns Phil into a statue.
And the statue comes alive.
Yes. And around this time, Keely goes to the Diffie house and she's like, you guys need to know something. Andy's really not a good friend. And Lloyd is like, what are you talking about? He is the best little boy I've ever met. He's so nice. And she's like, no, he's awful. And he's like, I don't want to hear this. Hi, Friar Fred. Because the statue has shown up at their house. And now he believes her.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to the unveiling, where the mayor is like, and now our delightful founding father, of whose wisdom we have followed forever, blah, 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 Phil Diffie. Phil Diffie. Yeah. And Barb and Lloyd tell Andy that they're gonna have to tell his parents when they take him back to the future. And he's like, I absolutely understand. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna put myself in timeout. And Phil's like, wait a second. Timeout? Mm-hmm. And then you hear the engine start, and the dad's like, "No, it's not a time machine. If it was a time machine, it would flash orange." And then you get this big orange flash, and Andy has left them in the present.
Yep.
So, note about this. The dad's reaction to Andy is annoying. He's also like, "No, I think Andy's really turned a new I might be the only one who ever got through to him." Why do you think you're the only one who ever got through to him if you thought that he was a good person up until 2 minutes ago?
Mm-hmm.
Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other notes?
We never see Phil get turned back into a human. Well, like, we see him as a human, but we don't see how that happens. They're like,
We
oh,
might
we're
show
gonna.
the parents do it.
Yeah, I know, but I wish that they showed us.
Oh, there is a really funny scene though where Lloyd is like apologizing to Phil, and Phil's a statue, and he's like, "Oh, you don't want to take my apology. You're gonna give me the silent treatment. I can do that too. You are your mother's son." And he's like standing back to back with him, and like Phil can't talk because
Yeah.
he's a statue.
And because in this episode too, it has that same blooper reel that we were talking about that we saw in the Halloween episode. They have a blooper reel of that scene where Phil is a statue and he's just dying every single time Lloyd has to give his line.
Yeah, Raviv was struggling through it, but it's so funny to watch.
It's really, really good.
I also just have to say, as we wrap up season 1, that Ricky, Raviv, Ullman, whatever, he does a really good job. Like, the number of times in the season and the next one, but especially, like, when he has to play other characters as Phil, like, when he switches brains with Curtis or when he's a statue or whatever, like, he does a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Yeah. I think that it's not the level of just like instant clicking and comedy that we got from Raven, but I definitely think this whole season to me feels like less awkward than season 1 of Even Stevens did.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Because I feel like they all are just very strong actors. And as we mentioned in our intro episode, a lot of these side characters go on to be really big names.
Yeah.
So this was where a lot of them got their start, but they were just naturally very talented. And so there's a couple episodes where you're like, oh, they're feeling it out. But it wasn't for a full season. And for Even Stevens, it. All right. Small technical difficulty because it wouldn't be us without a technical difficulty right at the end.
Careful, my cat is right behind you.
But basically, what we're saying is just this their acting is very impressive.
It's
For a Disney show,
I think it's good. I think it's hard to compare to Raven because it's a different style of humor. Raven's very like slapstick in your face, and this is more of like a slow burning dumb humor.
Yep.
Like you're laughing at just the ridiculous things that are happening. I also think it's a really unique premise, and that makes it fun. Like there's so much potential in the premise with all the gadgets.
A lot of opportunities for the writers to create the story and create the things that make it interesting to watch.
Yeah. And there is a lot of talent in the side characters and in the mains.
Yeah.
Allie, love her. And I was just complimenting Ricky Ullman. But in the continuity issues, so we got the pilot in the middle. We got the reveal in the middle. This feels a bit like a finale, and it's meant to be the finale. But this aired it was originally scheduled for May 2005. It didn't end up airing until October of 2005. The second season started airing in June of 2005.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So this is a season 1 episode that aired like 6 months into watching season 2.
That is very strange.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I kind of wish we held off on this one until.
I know if we watch things, well, it's on the Wikipedia season 1. It's on Disney Plus as season 1, and I didn't realize the air date was out like that until today.
That's funny. That's very interesting. But Disney also just does weird things. I do have to say, I'm excited to watch season 2. This show has felt so. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not sitting here like Raven being like, this show is so good. Because This show's wacky.
But I love it.
What I am enjoying, I'm actually going through it so quickly because it feels so refreshing and different from any show that we've watched so far that I'm just loving the stupidity sometimes.
I think that's gonna be pretty, but it's smart stupidity.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not like Dan Schneider stupid.
Nope.
Because I was watching some iCarly the other day, and I was like,
Freaking love iCarly.
I do too, but I was like, what the fuck
Yeah.
was this writer's room like?
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
But so this is like smart stupid.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's different than anything we've seen and probably different than anything we're gonna see.
Yeah. I don't think we'll get another show like this. I can't think of another one that's
No.
like this. And that's what makes it so fun. Is it ever going to be the best? No, guys, it's not.
Might be the most unique.
But it might be the most unique. And right now, I'm having a lot of fun watching it. And I didn't feel that way towards the end of Raven.
No.
I hate to admit it. I stopped having fun and I'm having fun again. And so I'm very excited to watch season 2. I hope it inspires you guys to like go and, even if it's not Phil of the Future, to go and rewatch some of these Disney shows that got 1 or 2 seasons that you're like, oh, I kind of remember that, but
yeah, this is part of why we wanted to do this podcast too. We wanted to like compare the greats, but we also wanted to like, we talked about, do we only talk about the ones that people really care about, or do we go through all of them? And I, as an avid Disney watcher, I looked at the list and I was like, no, all of these are important. Like,
yeah,
I want to shine a light as if I have this massive platform.
Yeah.
That's so funny. But no, like I want you guys to go and watch these other shows because
Yeah.
they were good.
Yeah. And if you like recently rewatched Phil, like of the Future during the pandemic, or if this inspires you to watch it, like we would totally love to know your thoughts. This will be my segue into the social medias. Please let us know any of your thoughts, comments, DMs, everything you got to say about Phil of the Future on our Instagram, 90s Babies Nostalgia, spell out the word 90s, or on our YouTube, which is also 90s Babies Nostalgia.
And thank you for our artwork, Don, and our music, Patrick. Links are always in the show notes. Yeah, give us feedback, guys. We're having fun. Hope you're having fun too.
Yep.
And thanks for listening.
And please rate and review.
Oh,
you can do it on
yes.
Spotify now as well. So wherever you listen to your podcast, please rate and review.
Please. Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
90s babies nostalgia.
The content blah 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 blah. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.